What's at stake, E-A-K, with all of this? Sorry.
Hey, Harris. Vice President Mike Pence appealing to ranchers in Iowa last week by saying the president is firmly committed to protecting one tasty American tradition, the hamburger.
Senator Kamala Harris said she would change the dietary guidelines of this country to reduce the amount of red meat Americans can eat. Well, I've got some red meat for you. We're not going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cut America's meat.
Yeah, no, Senator Harris does appear to have some beef with beef. During a climate change town hall last September, then presidential candidate Harris said she would consider changing the food pyramid to reduce meat consumption across the country.
Just to be very honest with you, I love cheeseburgers from time to time, right? I mean, I just do, and I think that, but there has to be also what we do in terms of creating incentives that we will eat in a healthy way, that we will encourage moderation, and that we will be educated about the effect of our eating habits on our environment. And we have to do a much better job of that, and the government has to do a much better job of that.
Yeah, and while she may chow down on cheeseburgers, eating too much red meat is a no-no if you support the Green New Deal, which she does. Joe Biden has not endorsed the Green New Deal, but says it's a crucial framework. Meantime, farmers and ranchers are already hurting. The U.S. beef industry estimates nearly $14 billion in losses due to COVID-19, and plant-based meat sales jumped 10% just last year alone. Now, the Trump campaign is hoping their pro-meat stance will be a winning issue in Iowa, a state where he is only beating Biden-Harris by a razor-thin margin.
Wow. Beef. It'll be interesting to see how that factors into the elections. I feel like it's officially begun today with the conventions kicking off. Good to see you, Carly Shimkus. Thank you for watching Outnumbered Overtime. The daily briefing starts right now.
It's a critical week for the Biden-Harris campaign as the Democratic convention kicks off just hours from now. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, and this is the Daily Briefing, live from Washington. Democrats dealing with a very different convention this year. There are no crowds and none of that in-person fanfare as the big event goes virtual. We have Team Fox coverage. Martha McCallum, just moments away. Kristen Fisher is at the White House as President Trump hits the campaign trail. But let's begin with Jackie Heinrich. She's live in Wilmington, Delaware. Jackie.
Dana, Michelle Obama is the keynote speaker tonight. She's been on the sidelines for much of the election cycle, but we expect her to talk tonight about the Joe Biden she knows, possibly touch on the significance of having Senator Kamala Harris on the Democratic ticket. What's less predictable is the message of unity the Democrats are trying to present by having former Republican Governor John Kasich and progressive Senator Bernie Sanders take the stage this same night. Behind the scenes, some progressives are leery of how far Biden casts a net and even voted down the Democratic Party platform because it doesn't embrace Medicare for all. Others understand you need a broad coalition to vote out President Trump. Louisiana Congressman Cedric Richmond put it this way.
There are a bunch of people out there, silent Biden voters, Republicans that want to vote for Biden or that will be voting for Biden. And it's important to let them know that they're not alone. And it's okay that there are Republican leaders that are voting for Biden-Harris.
A recent Fox News poll showed despite Biden's lead, more voters think their neighbors are backing President Trump. So this week will be an attempt to build enthusiasm, a challenge without the cheering audience of years past. To keep people's attention, non-keynote speeches are only 2 minutes long. Many are recorded. The campaign encouraged people to host watch parties, and Senator Elizabeth Warren will be hosting one herself in Battleground, Wisconsin. Dana?
Jackie Heinrich in Delaware for us. Thank you. And more now on President Trump's plans this week. Kristen Fisher, she's live at the White House. Kristen.
Well, Dana, whatever the Biden campaign is doing, the Trump campaign is doing almost the exact opposite. Trump campaign staffers wearing face masks are still going door to door, while the Biden campaign has pretty much abandoned that practice during a pandemic. And now you have Joe Biden not even going to his own nominating convention in Wisconsin, but President Trump is poised to touch down in that battleground state in about an hour after a stop earlier today in another battleground, Minnesota. Then later this week, it's on to 2 more battlegrounds Arizona, and Pennsylvania. Now, in Minneapolis, moments ago, the president slammed the format for some of tonight's speakers and said he thinks it's going to be a snooze fest.
Michelle Obama, her speech is taped. Why don't they tell me that? I'll tape my speech. Next week I'll tape it. It's a lot easier. I'll make sure it's perfecto. Every word will be perfect. You want to go to a snooze? You know, when you hear a speech is taped, it's like there's nothing very exciting about it.
Now, on top of all of this good old-fashioned on-the-ground stops in swing states, the Trump campaign is also deploying a massive digital ad buy this week, including taking over the YouTube masthead for nearly 4 full days. You know, from the beginning, the Trump campaign has said that it was a digital-first campaign. Now, they're really hoping that that early emphasis is going to give them the edge ahead of the Democrats' almost all-virtual convention, Dana.
Kristen Fisher, great to see you. Thank you. And let's bring in Martha McCallum. She's anchor of The Story, and she and Britt Baer are also heading up our special coverage of the Democratic Convention, and we are actually sitting together, which so exciting. That is news, and that is good.
It's great.
Great to have you. It's going to be an exciting week, so we kick it off tonight. Let's put up on the screen the speakers that we have for tonight, because something Jackie Heinrich said made me want to ask you this question. She talked about John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, right, the Republican who's going to give a speech tonight. And I think Democrats, when she said that they think about unity, I actually think what they're trying to show tonight is unity amongst their own party. Because also tonight you have Jim Clyburn, who really helped Biden seal the nomination with black voters. Then you have Bernie Sanders, who was a huge person on the left during that primary, and then Michelle Obama. So the bridge to the past. So I think that they're still trying to show that they have unity within their own party.
I think that's very true. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about John Kasich speaking at this convention, I think about Zell Miller back in 2004, who crossed party lines to come out in favor of President Bush. I mean, I think every party likes to have that person who will do that. I don't know, that it turns into a big moment for them in this party. But when I think about tonight's speakers, I think that Bernie Sanders obviously has a huge following. He was very close to becoming the nominee here. But I think the most important message that they're trying to get out ultimately through the course of this is going to come from Jim Clyburn and also from Michelle Obama, because the forgotten voter of this cycle, last time around, it was, blue-collar workers in places like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan. I think this time around, it is black voters, minority voters who didn't come out last time around, who need to make up those margins and those differences in those places. And the message to them is going to be, we see you, we hear you, we have a Biden-Harris ticket, and I think you're going to hear a lot of that tonight.
And then the president, as Kristen was saying, he's going to be out and about, right? He's going to hit the road, which I think is a great way to draw not only national attention, which he gets anywhere he goes, but you get that local media attention in the battleground states. So he'll be in Minnesota, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, and Mike Pence is going to Wisconsin. So they have their sights set on those 4 states.
That's a huge dichotomy. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country who do not want to sit at home anymore. And they're going to see that. They're going to see that they are out there campaigning. They're going to the states that matter. They're getting off the plane like you just saw the president do. And I know that the Biden message has been, we're going to be responsible. We're going to wear our masks. We're going to stay home. That's fine. That's the way they're playing that. And you're going to see the Trump campaign play completely differently, and we'll see how it resonates with the American people.
And another thing that's different is how they're talking to the media, whether they're talking to the media. I think, obviously, this is going to change pretty quickly because Biden and Harris are scheduled to do an interview with a big network coming up this weekend. But take a listen to President Trump this morning about how he thinks about what he thinks about their campaign.
I have no choice because we have a fake media in this country, so I have to work. I don't have the time not to. And we have a guy that doesn't come out of his basement, and the media covers him.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that's sort of the fact on the ground right now. He hasn't done that. If that game is about to change and they get out, I think it's interesting that they're going out together. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think that they will sort of face the press together and balance each other out in a lot of ways. I think these debates, I think it's interesting that there haven't been any leaked stories about debate prep on the Biden team at all. I would love to know more about what they're doing in terms of debate prep. So feel free to give us some more information on that. We'd love to hear it. I think that they're going to be pressured into speaking more. And I think why wouldn't he want to? He should want to get out there.
Well, they're going to have to explain to the American people what the difference is, right? Because President Trump is going to try to make there's a choice between his vision for the country and continuing his policies and what they want to do, whereas it seems the Democrats want it just to be a referendum on President Trump.
Yeah, and it turns out that the enthusiasm, most of the people who are supporting Joe Biden, I think 65% say that they support him because he is a vote against President Trump. You've got to find a reason to create a narrative that is, here's what it will look like. Here's what it will look like. And I think that for a lot of people, it's just enough, to say, I don't care. I'm going to vote for anyone who's not President Trump, and they're going to go that route.
What can we expect for tonight?
So tonight's going to be a really interesting night. One of the things that I'm waiting for is sort of that thud moment, which could happen at the RNC and the DNC, that beginning realization when someone comes out or the tape rolls, as President Trump just said, and you realize there's nobody in there, there's no one around them. So how are they going to create that energy around it? I think none of us are prepared for what that is actually going to look and feel like. And I think the bar is so high for the production value on this. I think there's going to be a ton of lessons learned. I feel bad in some ways for the Democrats that they have to go first because the RNC is going to learn some lessons from what they watched tonight.
Yeah, and I was thinking, when you send a text for happy birthday or 4th of July and you have fireworks on the screen, maybe they'll use something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I look forward to seeing you tonight.
You too, Dana. Great to see you.
Right. And as we mentioned, Fox has you covered all this week. The Democratic convention is getting underway. Plus, I'll join Martha McCallum and Brett Baier for special coverage tonight, and that will be 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there. Next, the Biden campaign taking heat for staying off the airwaves as a new poll shows the president within striking distance. Reaction from a top Democratic official next.
The Martins here just realized they outgrew their home, so they used Rocket Mortgage to finance their next one. Need to know if your next home fits your budget and your family? Rocket can.
A small thing like Corey Krill Oil can make a big difference for our health. From pure Antarctic waters, krill are an omega-3 force of nature and more effective than fish oil for us. Corey Krill Oil, the ocean's superior omega.
Hiring is challenging, especially for key roles.
Finding the right people is a very difficult task. ZipRecruiter finds us the best people for the job. They sent my jobs to the top job sites and found people with the right skills and experience. We've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
ZipRecruiter, rated the #1 hiring site. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Fox.
1 in 2 kids is underhydrated. If your child doesn't seem themselves at times, they may not be hydrated enough. All new plant-powered Creative Roots gives kids the hydration they need with the fruit flavors they love and 1 gram of sugar. Find new Creative Roots in the kids' juice aisle.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by attorney Robert Goldwater. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting a physician.
Attention, Zantac has been linked to cancer.
If you're a daily user of the heartburn medication Zantac and were then diagnosed with cancer, you may be entitled to substantial compensation.
Call now and find out if you may qualify in under 2 minutes.
If you developed cancer after using Zantac, call 1-800-819-1200. That's 1-800-819-1200.
Energy levels drop with age, and spending too much time indoors can make you even more sluggish. Help recharge your natural batteries with Ageless Male Core Energy. Find Core Energy at all major retailers like Walmart and be the man you want to be.
As a real estate agent, I've learned it's excess moisture that causes musty odors. Pro tip, use Damp Rid.
Damp Rid drop-in tabs attract and trap excess moisture out of the air, eliminating musty odors.
Works every time.
Get rid of dampness.
Damp Rid.
Some things are big, others are huge. It's Empire Today's half-price sale. Get $2,400 of flooring for $1,200, $5,200 for an amazing $2,600. That's half the price of your entire purchase. Shop for carpet, hardwood, vinyl, and laminate right from home and have it professionally installed. Don't miss Empire's half-price sale. Schedule now.
800-588-2300 Today, the 2020 DNC. After the Democrats kick off their convention, Laura has the angle you must see. Then Shannon reacts to the big speeches, part of our can't miss lineup tonight.
Things are starting to look up for small businesses. Your doors are open, customers are calling, orders are picking up. So now, more than ever, your business is going to need reliable internet and phone solutions for less. That's why Spectrum Business is proud to offer new customers the best internet, phone, and TV services for free for 1 month when you switch. Call 888-839-9449 today, and your business will get the best value available. With our faster internet speeds that start at 200 megabits per second for only $49.99 per month. Add our reliable business phone service, and you'll get unlimited local and long-distance calling. Plus over 35 calling features to help you stay connected at work or away for just $19.99 per month. At Spectrum Business, we're here for you because you're here for all of us. Get 1 free month of internet, phone, and TV when you switch to Spectrum Business today. Call 888-839-9449.
The Biden campaign taking some heat for skipping the Sunday talk shows on the day before the start of the Democratic National Convention. Let's bring in Sochi Hinojosa. She's communications director for the DNC. I know Sunday shows are not everyone's favorite thing to do. I remember having to pull teeth to get people to do that. But do you wish, as a communications director, that they were out a little bit more, generating some more buzz?
Well, they have been out. If you saw Senator Harris, she did a number of interviews over the weekend with African-American women reporters, which I praise her for that, because we must lift up a number of reporters, not just the Sunday talk shows. And today I'm here with you to talk more about our convention and uniting America. And so they have been out there, and you'll continue to see Vice President Biden and Senator Kamala Harris out there campaigning, making the case for the American people.
When President Trump says that the media is just giving them a pass and that he has to work for media coverage, is that making a dent at all in anything that you see?
Well, I think that Donald Trump continues to pull stunts like he did today by going to Wisconsin during the pandemic for media coverage. And I wouldn't necessarily say that the president of the United States going against health experts and trying to hold rallies and other public events during a pandemic is necessarily the safe thing to do. We will continue to be out there talking to the media. We have a 2-hour program for the next 4 nights that will actually highlight the stories of the American people, what the American people are going through, how they've been impacted by Donald Trump's administration. And frankly, I would encourage Donald Trump to watch and to listen, because he should hear those stories for himself.
So I'm sure that they would not call it a stunt to go to a battleground state, but that's partly because they are zeroing in on states that they really want to make sure they can win again in 2020. The CNN poll from yesterday is raising a lot of eyebrows, with it narrowing with Joe Biden now just ahead of Trump by 3.5 or so points within the margin of error. President Trump seeming to close that gap a little bit. What is your reaction to this CNN poll?
Well, I think we will continue to see polls, and you'll continue to see the race tighten. We always believe that this would be a tough race, and I would frankly prefer to be in Joe Biden's position than Donald Trump. I think that people recognize that Donald Trump has failed at his response to this pandemic, and you're seeing that hurt him in the polls right now. We absolutely are going to take nothing for granted. We are out there contacting voters. Our tactics may have changed. We're not going to necessarily go knock on a door right now when it is not safe to do so and put the American people at risk, but we will text message voters and we will call them, and we will do everything that we can to reach out to them and have those conversations to show the clear contrast between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
So the other thing that is getting a lot of attention is this question about mail-in voting. The U.S. Postal Service, Nancy Pelosi, is going to call people back in. Here's what President Trump says about this whole thing today.
It's a Nancy Pelosi con game with, her associate Schumer. This is a con game by Pelosi and Schumer. Look, the post office, there's $25 billion sitting there, but they really want $1 trillion to bail out their badly run states, like New York State, which is horribly run, like if you take a look at California, the money they lose. Illinois is a disaster.
One thing I learned working in Washington, whenever you bring up the Postal Service, you're going to create controversy or get a lot of attention for it. He calls what the Democrats are doing a con game. How do you react?
Well, the Postal Service shouldn't be controversial in any way, and it shouldn't be partisan. And frankly, for that matter, vote by mail shouldn't be controversial or partisan. You have Donald Trump here taking advantage of vote by mail in the upcoming election. You have his daughter-in-law who said it was safe. You have his current DHS saying that it is currently safe to vote by mail. So our job is going to be to make sure everyone who wants to vote, who is eligible to vote, can vote and have their voice heard. And we will continue to make sure to get information out to voters as we continue to organize, because there's too much at stake in this election and everyone should have the right to vote. And I wish that the president would realize that.
I know he said he was open to some flexibility on that when he talked this morning. So we're going to be watching tonight. We have special coverage starting at 10 p.m. Here on Fox News. I'm going to watch the whole thing. Thank you, Sochi. We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks so much for having me.
And as schools open up, the number of kids getting coronavirus, it's heading in a disturbing direction. So what does it mean for you and your family? I'll ask the Surgeon General next.
We see you, looking out for all of us. But you can't lose sight of your own well-being, especially if you have a serious chronic medical condition. At Aetna, we're always here to help you focus on your health, because it's always time for care.
Let me ask you a question. Do you want to get a little healthier, maybe lose some weight? Guys, I got you.
Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months. Money back guaranteed. Order right now. Get 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes with probiotics to help support your immunity.
Just call now or order online. Either way, don't wait.
Go online or call 888-521-FIT8 to save 50% on a month of meals and 50% on a month of shakes.
It's open.
Hi. This is amazing. With moderate to severe ulcerative colitis.
Are you okay?
Even when I was there, I never knew when my symptoms would keep us apart. So I talked to my doctor about Humira. I learned Humira can help get and keep UC under control when other medications haven't worked well enough. And it helps people achieve control that lasts, so you could experience few or no symptoms.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Be there for you and them. Ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, control is possible.
Ta-da! Did you know Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Given my unique lifestyle, that'd be perfect. Let me grab a pen and some paper. Know what? I'm gonna switch now. Just need my desk, my chair, and my phone. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. On the road again.
Book 2 separate qualifying stays and earn a free night. The open road is open again, and wherever you're headed, Choice Hotels is there. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Every American wants their dollars to work as hard as they do. However, since 2000, the buying power of the dollar has dropped by over 31%. That means a dollar is only worth about 68 cents now compared to 2000. Had you owned gold, your value would have increased over 550%. And owning gold is easy.
With Rosalind Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire precious metals, gold bullion, Lady Liberty gold and silver proofs, and our premium coins can help you preserve your wealth. Call Rosalind Capital at 800-630-8900 to receive your free Rosalind Guide to Gold, Gold and Precious Metals IRA, and Silver brochures. With Rosalind, there are no hassles, no gimmicks, and we have the fastest shipping around.
Dollar down, gold up. Pretty clear. Make gold your new standard.
Call Rosalind Capital today at 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
When you can't watch, listen. Get the latest news, business, and news headlines on SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
I'm Bill Hemmer. I'm Brett Baer.
I'm Dana Perino, and this is the Fox News Rundown. America is listening to the Fox News Rundown. covering the biggest moments from the race to the White House with our unrivaled Democracy 2020 coverage and the top news stories 7 days a week. Download the Fox News Rundown at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. The United States passing another grim milestone, reporting more than 5,400,000 COVID-19 cases and topping 170,000 total deaths. That's as dozens of college students are already testing positive for the virus, with classes just getting underway. Jonathan Seri is live in Atlanta with more on that. Jonathan?
Hi, Dana. COVID-19 is providing a major hurdle to students trying to return to classes this fall. We have some dramatic home video I want to show you right now. It captures students celebrating in the North Georgia town of Dahlonega. These are North Georgia University students celebrating the new year with few signs of any masks or social distancing. In other parts of the country, students are being asked to quarantine after testing positive, including Iowa State University students. At that university, already 75 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed. Student Health Center Director Aaron Baldwin says, "We understand that receiving news that you need to isolate or quarantine is stressful for our students and families, especially when this impacts participation in campus events and classes. We have built systems to support our students during this time period and will provide flexibility while they navigate coursework virtually." At Oklahoma State University, a sorority house is under quarantine after nearly 24 members became infected. And the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has announced it has found a fourth cluster of infection since classes resumed last week. University officials say the students are isolating and receiving medical monitoring while public health officials investigate additional potential exposures. Although young people are at lower risk for complications and death from COVID-19, as you can see, Dana, this disease is causing major problems as the nation's universities and colleges try to resume physical in-class learning. Back to you.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Let's bring in Dr. Jerome Adams, Surgeon General of the United States. Sir, could I get you to speak just maybe for a moment to the college students of America? Maybe they're not watching this, but their parents are. They could clip it. You know, it is difficult to stay at home. I know that they want to get their lives underway, but if they're putting themselves or others at risk, is there anything we can do?
Well, I think it's important for the young people in particular to understand that if we want to have spring break next year, if we want to have in-person graduation, if you want to have some semblance of a normal college year, then we all need to do our part. We need to follow basic public health measures, and I know people are worried about when does this end. I talk to Tony Fauci almost daily. He still believes strongly that we're going to have a vaccine by the end of this year, beginning of next year. So we've got to get through the end of this year, early winter. And if we do that by following basic public health measures, my 3 W's, washing your hands, wearing a mask, and watching your distance, then these small inconveniences will lead to big opportunities for us to be able to be on campuses, have normal sports, and engage in other activities. But if we don't, then we're going to see the hands forced of mayors, of college deans, of other individuals out there in leadership positions, and things are going to be shut down. So we have the power to do this. New York's positivity rate is under 1%. It can be done. Yep. Arizona just drove down their rates, but we need everyone to be on board.
You bring up positivity rates. I think we have a list of some of the states here. You know, Mississippi at 19.1%. But as you said, some other states like New York getting it way down. Arizona's coming down. But a lot of these numbers from Florida, Idaho, Kansas, Georgia, Texas, even Missouri, over 10%. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I've been traveling all over the country. I feel like Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere. I've been to Miami, Atlanta, Indianapolis, Baltimore. These are all places that we consider to be in the yellow or red zone. So if you're under 5%, we consider you in the green. If you're 5 to 10% positivity, you're in the yellow. If you're over 10%, you're in the red. But what I want people to understand is these numbers don't have to be your future. Arizona proved that you can turn around your trajectory in just about 2 to 3 weeks, but you've got to engage in the public health measures, making sure you're avoiding crowded indoor spaces. And that clip you just showed, that's the example of what coronavirus loves. It loves when people are close together, not wearing face coverings, spreading viruses. And Dana, one thing that I do want to say is these masks, these have become political. These have become controversial. please, to your viewers, I'm asking you, don't make these political, don't make these controversial. They're a small inconvenience. They're a simple tool which will allow us to get back to worship, to sports, to school,
and
to a regular
and
college
if I could
season.
ask you just one last question for parents that are watching that are worried about their kids. Can you, what is your opinion about some of these case numbers that are increasing as with children, not college students, but like the younger kids?
Well, great question. The CDC just said that we're seeing increasing cases being diagnosed in people under the age of 18. Three main reasons. Number one, these kids are just out and moving more. They're going to school, they're playing sports. We also know that they're being tested at a higher rate. And finally, we know that if the disease is spreading in the community with a 20% positivity rate, it's going to find its way to young people. Important for people to know that young people are at lower risk of complications, but that does not mean no risk. And again, even young people need to follow those 3 W's: wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. And if we do that, we can keep schools open, we can get back to normal. And everyone needs to get their flu shot this year so we don't have that double whammy of flu and COVID.
I want to have you back to talk about the possibility of a twindemic, but we have to let you go now. Dr. Adams, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm happy to come back anytime. These are important issues for us to discuss,
we're
and I
hold
thank you for the time.
Thank you. All right, next, the battle over ballots and Democrats demanding answers from the man in charge of the post office. Our political panel weighs in. And be sure to follow me on social media at Dana Perino and the show at The Daily Briefing. Lots of sports commentary there for you.
If you're considering silver for your savings and retirement accounts, here's an amazing offer from Lear Capital. Now you can receive $500, $1,000, up to $5,000 worth of bonus silver with a qualifying purchase. Silver can help preserve your wealth, and silver is easy to buy and simple to sell. Just call Lear Capital now to speak with your personal silver specialist and learn more about silver products available, like this Morgan Dollar, America the Beautiful coin, or our popular Wildlife coin series. The choice is yours. With the spot price of silver well below its all-time high, now may be the perfect time to stop considering silver and buy it. Call Lear Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire physical silver. We'll walk you through the steps to get started and answer your questions. Get this free silver report and ask how you can get up to $5,000 in bonus silver with a qualifying purchase. Call 800-654-1010. 800-654-1010.
Are you embarrassed by ugly, infected toes? Chances are you're suffering with toe fungus. Hiding it won't help, but Fungi Cure can. Fungi Cure is the strongest medicine you can get without a prescription. Fungi Cure eliminates 6 types of fungus to help your toes get back to normal in as little as 4 weeks. So cure the fungus and start feeling good about your toes again. Nothing is stronger without a prescription. Get Fungi Cure now in the foot care aisle.
It's time for the biggest sale of the year on the new Sleep Number 360 smart bed.
What if I sleep hot?
Or cold?
No problem. With temperature balancing, you can sleep better together.
Can it help keep me asleep?
Absolutely. It intelligently senses your movements and automatically adjusts to keep you both effortlessly comfortable.
Will it help me keep up with Mom?
You got this.
So, you can really promise better sleep?
Not promise, prove. It's our weekend special. Save $500 on the new Sleep Number 360 smart bed, plus 0% interest for 36 months on all smart beds. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Hi, my name's Robert. Oh, this is my house. I live here. I'm here to talk to you about home security. Simply Safe Home Security. As a full-time burglar and part-time con man, I know home security better than most. And as one of the people responsible for protecting my family, I only trust Simply Safe. It has everything you need to blanket your home with protection. So take it from an expert. Get Simply Safe and protect home like a pro.
Visit simplysafe.com for a limited time offer.
I just want clear skin. Tried so-called super creams, even tried half my kitchen on my face. And did any of that work? Nope. Then I found Proactive.com. They have 3 different systems with clinically proven ingredients and tested by dermatologists that got my skin clear and their skin too. They have a simple 3-step system designed for you. Subscribe today at Proactive.com and get this free pore cleansing brush. Subscribe to consistently clear skin delivered to your door. That's Proactive.
People across America trust Nutrisystem because we deliver your favorite foods made healthier right to your door. It's convenient home delivery of delicious meals and snacks to help you stay healthy. We're here for you now. Get 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes with probiotics to help support your immunity.
Go online or call 888-573-SIZE to save 50% on a month of meals and 50% on a month of shakes.
Veterans, if you could lower your mortgage payments by $250 a month, $3,000 a year, what would you do with the money? Save for your retirement, update your home, maybe buy a new car? Record low rates have dropped even lower. Use your VA Streamline Refi benefit now. One call to New Day is all it takes to save $3,000 every year.
Call 1-833-859-0161.
It's the bottom of the hour, so time for some top headlines. President Trump says he will consider a pardon for Edward Snowden, the former National Security Agency contractor who leaked classified documents.
I'm not that aware of the Snowden situation, but I'm going to start looking at it. There are many, many people. It seems to be a split decision. Many people think that he should be somehow treated differently, and other people think he did very bad things. And I'm going to take a very good look at it.
Snowden has been living in exile in Russia for years. Critics have accused him of treason. President Trump even called him a traitor back in 2013. Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields creating a petition to immediately bring back football. It comes after officials postponed the entire Big Ten season because of the coronavirus. Ohio State's head coach says he understands how his players feel.
It is going to be very, very difficult. This whole year has been difficult, but we're going to stick together and work through it. And it's going to be difficult for a lot of people. There's no question. It hurts.
And in New York City, the annual tribute in light will shine after all. The governor promising additional health personnel to help make sure the display can safely happen. The beams of light have been shooting into the sky since 2002. President Trump pushing back against Democrats' claims that he is trying to sabotage the election. That's as the left is stepping up its fight over the post office. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi even calling House lawmakers to come back to Washington to deal with it. Chad Pergram is live on Capitol Hill. Chad?
Well, they're going to have a rare Saturday session. Those are rare in Congress anyway, but especially in the middle of the August recess. That kind of underscores just how important this is to Democrats. And we've also learned within the past hour here that Louis DeJoy, the Postmaster General, is going to appear at a House hearing before the Oversight Committee next Monday to talk about these issues. Here's one of the members of that committee, Jerry Connolly of Virginia.
I don't think anyone understood the Postal Service would also be the third rail of politics, in part because the Postal Service has never been controversial before. But now it's a screaming headline in every cable news show and every newspaper in America, and people are very aware, and they don't like it.
The Democratic bill would undo changes made by Postmaster General Louis DeJoy at least through 2021 or the end of the pandemic. Democrats like Connolly charge that DeJoy is doing the president's bidding in an effort to tilt the election. President Trump disagrees.
No, not at all. Wouldn't do that. No, I have encouraged everybody, speed up the mail, not slow the mail.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said today, quote, "The Postal Service is going to be just fine. We are going to make sure that the ability to function going into the election is not adversely affected." Now, it's very doubtful that the Senate will ever take up any bill that's passed by the House of Representatives this weekend. And James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, he's the top Republican on the Oversight Committee, he said today that this vote by mail, this gives the Postal Service a, quote, revenue-generating opportunity. Dana?
All right, Chad Pergram, thank you. Let's bring in our panel, Fox News contributor and Washington Times opinion editor Charlie Hurt and former Tennessee Congressman Harold Ford Jr. Really great to have you here. So we're here in Washington, D.C. For coverage tonight of the convention that gets underway. I want to read to you from Liz Peek's column from the New York Post. She writes about the Democrats' convention saying, spoiler alert, Democrats can't really bridge the gap between the Biden left and Sanders far left. Instead, they plan to unify their party by spending the hours between now and Thursday night lambasting President Donald Trump as a terrible, terrible person, and even worse president, that's all they've got. That's what their voters want. Harold Ford, let me ask you, is that what you're hearing about what they're planning to do as they kick off tonight?
First off, thanks for having me on. Glad to be back. I hear different things than that. And I would remind Liz and others who write about conventions, and Dana, you and Charlie know this, there's always division going into a convention. In 2016, there was not unanimity around Donald Trump. There was not unanimity around Bill Clinton in 92. This is not an uncommon thing. I think for Democrats, though, the focus has to shift at this convention to talking only about Main Street. How do you build a tax code to support its rebuild and revitalization? How do you convince and persuade and hammer away that we are against defunding the police? And how do you make sure that small and medium-sized cities understand that we want to bring back jobs to those cities? That should be the focus of the convention. And my hunch is, after listening to Miss Inosa on your air just a little while ago, that's where they're veering towards, and hopefully that's where they will settle.
Okay, Charlie Hurt, though, let me ask you about this, because we know that a Wall Street Journal poll has shown about the enthusiasm issue when it comes to Democrats. A majority of them, 58%, say they're voting not so much because they love Joe Biden, because they want to vote against Donald Trump. Right. So in some ways, what Liz Peek is saying would seem to fit the strategy if they want to have more of that.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And you just talking to Democrats, you can tell all of that enthusiasm is anti-Trump. It's not pro-Joe Biden. They would have run absolutely anybody they thought would have had the best chance to defeat Donald Trump. But I mean, this business about Nancy Pelosi calling Congress back into session to stand up for the U.S. Postal Service is just one of the most bizarre turns in a very bizarre political season anyway. Why? I mean, it's a very strange sort of issue to try to pick up. And I don't think it's a particularly winning issue to try to rally around the post office. It's just sort of that seems to be one of the least animating issues out there that you could sort of glom onto. But I do think
it's not so much just the post
office.
It's not just so much the post office, Harold. It's about the mail-in voting and the ability to vote and your vote counting. And the president's saying that they're doing a con job. But for Harold, from the Democrats' perspective, they have constituents who are actually worried about it. But two, maybe he handed them something that they could use.
I think he has. I mean, the Postal Service is not just about delivering ballots. The Postal Service, as we all know, delivers checks to seniors for Social Security, refunds from the IRS. They deliver prescription drugs for seniors and others in the country. I hope that everyone, as they go back, they talk about this matter in the sense it should be, which is, how do you ensure that everyone's vote can be counted? If some people want to go to the polls, if some people want to mail in their ballots, we should allow that. I mean, I was most encouraged to hear Mitch McConnell say that the Postal Service would have the resources that it needs. And even I think you quoted a congressman who said this may be an opportunity for the Postal Service to generate some much needed funds and resources.
Well, let me make sure that people should take a look at what the president said this morning on Fox and Friends, in which he even talked about absolutely wanting to make sure everybody's vote counted, and even was open to some ideas for extending some of the voting or making it, open it up a day earlier for in-person. So we'll see. Charlie, I have to say, great haircut. Can't believe you've got a haircut. And Harold Ford, how do you have a different backdrop with every shot? It's really impressive. All of them great. Wonderful to have you both. See you next week. Thank you.
Great to be with you.
All right, next, Howie Kurtz on the media fawning all over Kamala Harris.
At Safelite, we're committed to taking care of you and your car.
We'll fix it right with no contact service you can trust.
So if you have auto glass damage, stay safe with Safelite.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Sometimes buying a car is a necessity. CarGurus contactless services can help. Safely find the best deals available when you search by private dealer appointments, at-home test drives, and contactless purchase. CarGurus, find a great deal safely.
Pete Talbot here, along with my son Seth, with Relief Factor. And we're so grateful to be here with Larry Elder, who's been telling his radio listeners for years now about how Relief Factor can help them get out of pain.
Pete, every time I turn around, I'm hearing from my listeners who are now out of pain, including many of my colleagues like Dennis Prager, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, and many others. Being out of pain is a big deal.
I was in pain for many years. I was desperate. I ordered the 3-week quick start, and I am so glad that I did, because now I am pain-free.
Doctors formulated Relief Factor by combining 4 different ingredients to help your own body deal with inflammation. That's why we created the 3-week quick start for just $19.95, about $1 a day, to see if we can get you out of pain.
And it can be at your door in just 2 to 3 days. So go to relieffactor.com or call 800-500-8384.
Your house brought you together. Like, really together. And although together is great, together with more space is better. With Rocket Mortgage, you get personalized loan options, closing costs, and tax estimates all in real time. So when you need to know what it takes for a home to fit your budget and your family, Rocket can.
Donald Trump Jr. reacts to the DNC live. As the Dems speak out on day one, the president's son breaks it all down with Sean tonight on Hannity.
Attention, anyone on Medicare. Did you know you may now be eligible for additional Medicare-approved benefits, including dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage? Just call the toll-free number on your screen now to see if you qualify. The Medicare Benefits and Questions line is now open to help anyone on Medicare make sure you are getting the benefits you deserve. Just call 800-955-5341 now to find out if you're eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan that includes additional benefits like free hearing aids, free eyeglasses, free meal delivery, and free rides to medical appointments. You may also be eligible for $0 monthly premiums, $0 deductibles, or no copays. Just call the toll-free number on your screen now to see if you qualify for additional benefits including dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drugs. There is no obligation to enroll. The call and Medicare benefits review are absolutely free. Just call 800-955-5341. 800-955-5341.
Hi, Joe Namath here, and like you, I'm at home staying safe. But I wanted to get this message out. To make these uncertain times a bit easier and safer while at home, Medicare Advantage plans have added new benefits, including telephone appointments with your doctors, in-home aids, home-delivered meals, home-delivered prescriptions, and so much more. But you don't get all the benefits automatically. You need to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Coverage Helpline. It's now more important than ever to make sure your Medicare coverage is up to date. We all have a few minutes to make a phone call to focus on our health. Get what you're entitled to. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-662-3800. That's 1-800-662-3800 now.
I'm Bill Hemmer on a Monday, awaiting President Trump about to speak on the economy any moment now in Minnesota, while the Democrats get ready for a convention like none other. Also, Morgan Ortega's at the State Department, a number of stories popping overseas today, and possible roads to victory for Biden and for Trump. We'll show you that on the billboard coming up in a moment here on Bill Hemmer Reports. We'll see you then.
Portland reeling from 81 straight nights of protests, some, of course, turning violent. But it's not alone, as a deadly crime wave rocks other big cities across the country. And Aisha Hasni is live in New York with this story. Aisha?
Hi, Dana. Another weekend of violence here in the Big Apple, and New York City's Mayor Bill de Blasio says he's relying on the NYPD, not federal agents, after President Trump warned that he'd be sending those agents in to the city to bring back law and order. This back and forth coming after 51 people were shot across the city since Friday, including an off-duty correctional officer shot in the head. Over in Philadelphia, 4 people are dead in 20 shootings there, including a terrible incident Saturday where officers took fire as multiple gunmen started shooting at a large gathering. In Chicago, 64 people were shot. 5 died over the weekend. Among the injured, a 12-year-old boy and 6 teenagers. And 19 people were shot, 4 killed in Cincinnati on Sunday, putting the city on track to have its worst year yet for homicides. And Dana, children keep getting caught in the crossfire. Somebody shot an 8-month-old baby boy in Detroit on Friday, and then an 8-year-old girl in Akron, Ohio, was shot and killed on Saturday. during a birthday party. And Dana, people are apparently so scared that bulletproof vests sales are through the roof. Owner here in Midtown Manhattan of a tactical store says that sales are up 80% because people are just terrified. Dana?
Aisha, thank you. Well, the media is continuing to gush over Kamala Harris ever since Joe Biden picked her as his running mate. Watch.
It's remarkable, too, that it's not just that she's the first black woman. She's an Indian American woman. She's the daughter of immigrants. Her age is also important here. She's young.
She's accomplished some key things. One, makes history. Two, energizes the base.
The first time I saw Kamala Harris speak, I immediately understood why people in California saw her as the female Obama.
And that was just a sampling. Let's bring in Howie Kurtz, host of Media Buzz and Fox News analyst. So you've been following this a bit. What do you think?
Well, the media have absolutely lionized Kamala Harris, most of the media, I should say. Well, I understand the excitement surrounding her as a racial trailblazer. Some of the same pundits who are cheering her on, they had accused her of running a terrible, erratic, mismanaged, flip-flopping campaign when she imploded just before Iowa. Now, suddenly, she's a political superwoman. They're giving her a cape. Now, she may have been the best available finalist to Joe Biden, but what happened was the mainstream media collectively decided that Biden had to pick a woman of color. And now they're celebrating the fact that he took that advice.
Well, he said himself that he was going to pick a woman.
Right. And then there was a whole debate about, did it have to be an African-American woman? Did it have to be a woman of color? And obviously, Biden decided to go in that direction.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's not as if the media hasn't fawned over people before. I mean, if you think back to 2016, Hillary Clinton, of course, getting some good media treatment, not all positive at all, but go back to 2008 when Senator Barack Obama threw his hat in the ring, and there was a lot of excitement over that one, too. And he was just a first-term senator as well.
Yeah, but on the running mate front, I haven't seen this level of positive excitement by the media since the Clinton-Gore ticket in '92 and that famous bus trip. Look, when you look at major news organizations, many are describing Kamala Harris as a moderate. She's actually quite liberal. She endorsed Bernie's Medicare for All before walking it back. So that is a mischaracterization. I have a little bit of criticism of some on the right who are saying, oh, you know, Joe Biden's just going to be a figurehead. Kamala's going to be running the show. He's going to step down and let her be president.
That's ridiculous.
No evidence of that. But there's a fascinating number in the Washington Post ABC poll today, Dana. 71% of those questions say the selection of Senator Harris won't affect their vote at all, which reminds us, despite this Kamala tidal wave, that ultimately the race will come down to Trump versus Biden.
It will be Trump versus Biden. Thank you, Howie Kurtz. And we have President Trump, who's actually speaking right now live, so we can listen into that.
You will deliver a historic victory for our values, our citizens, and our treasured way of life. We'll save our cities and our suburbs from the future of crime and chaos, corruption, and economic collapse that puppet Joe Biden would unleash on America. This is a puppet. He won't do it intentionally. He just says, well, whatever they want, because he has no clue. He has no clue. I ended low-income housing being built in the suburbs and destroying people's American dream. You know that. If Biden and Harris get into power, they've pledged to raise your taxes by $4 trillion, which, put in very simple terms, mean many of you will have to pay double and triple the taxes that you're paying right now. This includes a tax of over $3,000 on a typical family of four. Biden-Harris also pledged to eliminate fracking, natural gas, oil, and coal production, forcing us to beg for energy from foreign suppliers. On my watch, America will proudly remain energy independent. First time, energy independent. We've made a lot of progress on energy. I want to thank your terrific representatives in Congress, Tom Emmer. Where's Tom? Tom. There he is. What a man. These are warriors. Jim Hagedorn. Pete Stauber. And this is a very important one, fellas. This is very important. Your next senator from Minnesota, a fantastic man. I just see that he's even in the poll. Normally that doesn't mean much, but that's a big step. And he's fantastic. Jason Lewis, he's going to be a fantastic senator. That's big, Jason. That's ahead of schedule. And I hear we're doing very well in the poll, too. We win Minnesota. It is over. It is over, right? We win Minnesota. But our great Republican candidates for Congress, Michelle Fishbach, where's Michelle? Michelle. I hear so many great things about you. I have heard so many great things. Go out and do it. You're going to do it. We're going to be out there working with you. Tyler Kistner. Tyler. Good luck, Tyler. This is a great group. And a man whose name I love, Lacey Johnson. Great job. I've been following you, Lacey. You're doing good. You're doing good. Thank you, Lacey, very much. We really have to get them, the warriors, all of them. All of them. We have to get them in because we have to stop this craziness that's going on. No law enforcement, no anything. They don't know what they're doing. They'll lose the country. You know, there was somebody said the other day, and I say it very strongly, sir, you're the only one between that and the greatness of the American dream. And there's truth to it. We don't stop. We don't keep this position. We're going to win the House. I feel House. We're going to win the House. I'm very much involved in every single race. And with the Senate, we're working very hard. I think we're going to be in great shape in the Senate. And I think we're in great. Did you see that CNN? They raised us 10 points in one poll that took place over a short period of time. And it's still not good enough. Still not good enough. You mean they're getting more honest? Because I'll tell you what, there's never been enthusiasm like we have. There's never been. Including, right, Tom? Including in 2016, we've never had. We had more enthusiasm than anyone's seen, maybe ever, in a presidential campaign. And it pales in comparison to what's going on right now. It does. Even this, we wanted to restrict the crowd. We didn't tell anybody, and look at what happens. But look at voters for Trump. Look at bikers for Trump. They have highways with thousands of people. Thousands of people, you know, bikers going. I don't know if I'm driving along and I get passed by 2,000 bikers. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then they set the Guinness Book, I hear, the world record yesterday for boats. But no matter where you, in Florida, no matter where you go, a river, a lake, an ocean, the boats up there by the thousands on the weekend. The weekend is unbelievable. Minnesota Senate Majority Leader, Paul Gazelka. Paul, thank you, Paul. Good job, Paul. Are we doing good? We're doing good, right? I think we are, too. And Minnesota House Republican leader, another great one, Kurt Doubt. Kurt, thank you very much. Thank you, Kurt, very much. I'm having a lot of fun today because it's so windy you can't see these teleprompters at all. So I'm sort of making it up as I go along, and that's okay. I've had to do that plenty. Now these suckers are blowing like I'm saying, what the hell? Fortunately, I know these people. If I didn't know these people, you would have been in big trouble, I will tell you that. Another one I know very well, he's the single greatest ad buyer in the history of the world. And he also happens to make a very good product, his pillow. I use it. When I sleep well, I'm using his pillow. And these suckers are about to fall down, but that's okay because I know him very well. Mike Lindell. Mike, thank you. And he's the chairman of our campaign. If I don't win Minnesota with you as the chairman of our campaign, I would say that would be very bad for me because if this guy can do anything. Thank you, Mike. It's an honor, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you. You do a great job. Thank you. And it's all made in Minnesota, right? All made in Minnesota. Thank you very much, Mike. Before the China virus invaded our shores, we built the greatest economy in history. There was nothing like it. We were beating everybody, including China. They had the worst year in 67 years. We were taking in billions and billions and billions of dollars in tariffs. Beautiful thing, tariffs, when used properly, especially when you're being taken advantage of by every nation in the world. We achieved record low unemployment for African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, young people, people with diplomas, people without diplomas, college students, crummy students, great students, horrible students, dumb people, liberal people, conservative people. Everybody was doing the best they've ever done. PhDs from MIT, PhDs from crummy colleges. Everybody was doing the greatest, the best they've ever done. Median household income soared to the highest level ever recorded. Numbers were unbelievable to open new opportunities for Minnesota farmers and factory workers. We replaced the disaster known as NAFTA with a brand new USMCA, which has been a big hit. Dairy exports to Canada are now expected to surge by at least 50%. I know how good the deal is. Don't tell Canada I said this, because they were not happy about it. They had pickets. When they have pickets about a deal, that makes you feel good. But they've been taking advantage. You know, Canada, oh, Canada, wonderful song, right? Oh, Canada, nice song. Only one problem. They took advantage of us like crazy with your dairy tariffs, 297% tariff on your dairy products, right? I learned that when I came up here. They had specialty milk, a little thing, specialty milk, and I met a farmer, and he said what had happened was spat me over the edge, and I said, we got to change this because you were taken advantage of by Canada very badly, and by Mexico, and by China, and by Japan, and by friends and foe. And in many cases, friends were worse than the foe. For years, you watched as politicians like Sleepy Joe Biden, who's been in office for 47 years, allowed foreign nations to crush Minnesota's mining. Look at your mining industry. It was crushed by dumping tons and tons of cheap iron and steel into our country. I saw what was happening. I did something about it. I will tell you, China wants me to lose so badly. They all do. And yet I get along with all of them. Although China, I don't speak to them. After the plague came in, you know, we made a great deal with China. They announced last week that China ordered the largest amount of corn in history and the largest amount of soybeans in history, and big cattle purchases, one of the biggest that anybody has seen. And I said, see how smart they are? If they weren't smart, they would have stopped and we would have said, let's decouple. But by ordering so much, the farmers come to me, sir, we like this deal a lot. Please don't do anything irrational. How smart is China, right? The biggest corn order, they said the biggest corn order in history. So I have to say, but I tell you, my view has changed a lot. We made a great deal with China, but my view has changed a lot. USMCA is the biggest deal ever made, and that one is working out great between Canada and Mexico. And remember this, Minnesota, under the last administration, Minnesota Iron Range was wiped out. 7 plants were idled and more than 2,000 workers were laid off. Obama and Biden closed it down. Do you remember that? The finest iron ore in the world, they say. I don't know. What do I know? To me, it all looks the same. But they say it's the finest iron ore in the world. That's good enough for me. And what did I do? Almost immediately after getting into office, I heard about this disaster, just like Keystone Pipeline, just like so much else, Jason. And you'll be working on that with me in the beautiful halls of the Senate, and he's going to stay with us. He's not going to be one of those that gets elected. He's not going to be one of them that get elected and then he walks into those gorgeous buildings when they had those big, beautiful dollar bills, and they built marble columns, and it's so beautiful and so rich. He's not going to say, darling, We finally arrived. Now we can go with the majority. He's going to do what's right. He's going to do what's right. I know Jason. You need Jason. Get Jason elected, please. But they closed it up, and I was here, and a worker, I was making speeches before you had to stand 200 feet away from everybody, before you had to stand like 2 football fields away. And a worker came up to me with a group of his friends, and they were all crying, and they were tough. They never cried before in their life, maybe when they were babies, but I doubt it. They were all crying. He said, "Sir, you gave us back our life." He said that. I had that just recently in Maine. They took away 5,000 square miles. Think of a square mile, and then multiply it times 5,000. Took away 5,000 square miles. That was O'Biden, as I call him, O'Biden. That was Obama and Biden. Short. I like that term, O'Biden, because you save a lot of time. But that was Obama and Biden in Maine. Took away 5,000 square miles. You know what that is? That's like, I said, let me see what it looks like on a map. They basically took away the Atlantic Ocean from Maine. And Maine is the greatest in the world for lobster and the greatest in the world just about for fishing. I said, why did he take this area? They didn't know, except that was the great fishing area. And I gave it back to them. I redid it. I took it off. I wiped it out. I gave an executive order that wiped it out immediately. And then we wiped out the tariffs that they were being charged by China and by, as you know, the United Kingdom was charging tariffs. They were all charging tariffs to our fishermen, but we don't charge tariffs to them. So I made it fair. European Union was a disaster charging tariffs. They were charging big tariffs. We wouldn't. So here's what was happening. So Canada, they would sell the fish and lobster to Canada for nothing, for peanuts, and Canada would then sell it to China and also to the European Union, because Canada had a deal where they didn't have to pay the tariffs. This was before my time. How this could have happened is incredible. So I said, listen, if you don't change your tariffs, I'm going to put tariffs in your car. It was amazing. They said, we'll change them immediately. Thank you very much. That took about 2 minutes. So I did a lot for Maine. We're going to see whether or not they remember, but I think Maine's going to remember. But I did similar for you when I opened up your great iron ore. And I put tariffs. I put tariffs on foreign steel. And the Iron Range came roaring back to life. You know that, right? Right? But these guys came up to me, you've given us back our life. I've never forgotten that. You've given us back our life. They didn't say thanks. They didn't say thanks for the job. They said that's what they've done all their life. And Obama just came in and closed it up. I don't say Biden because I don't think he knows what the hell's happening. I think if you mention, you know, you shouldn't have done that to Minnesota, he'll say, where's Minnesota? I don't know anything else. I don't know what Minnesota is. Where is that, please? How many times, by the way, has he been up at a speech where he'll say the wrong state, right? He'll get up. It's great to be in the wonderful state of Ohio. Sir, you're in Florida. That's the bad one, you know, when you see palm trees. It's wonderful to be in Ohio. Or, I love being with the people from Iowa. Sir, you're in Idaho. And he always gets New Hampshire mixed up with Vermont. But all the time he does that. I haven't done it yet. If I do, I'm just leaving because there's no way you can save it, you know. There's no way you can save it. We recently issued a directive protecting workers on the Iron Range from unfair job-killing regulation and frivolous litigation, in addition to everything else. We started construction on the new Sulak, right? Sulak, big deal. That's been deteriorating for many years, just about gone, and we're redoing it now, rebuilding it. That's a big deal for your state and for others, so that the iron ore can quickly get to market, Sulak. Our miners are back on the job, and wages have increased by as much as 50%, and they're doing great. Even during the China plague, they're doing great. And the China plague will fade, but we will not forget. But if Biden wins, the Iron Range will be shut down forever. You know that. He'll shut it down very early on, forever. I took a lot of heat by doing that. I took a lot of heat from the so-called environmentalists. I'm an environmentalist, too, in a big sense. We just signed something the other day. Cory Gardner, Steve Daines, senators, great senators. And we signed a bill that's going to really be something incredible from an environmental standpoint, the biggest we've ever signed, they say, other than Teddy Roosevelt. It goes back to Teddy Roosevelt. I said, why isn't it bigger? Because we also did something tremendous for Utah. You know that? Thousands and thousands of acres. We opened it up. I said, why isn't it bigger than Teddy Roosevelt? I want bigger. Otherwise, I'm not signing it. They said, sir, he did the Grand Canyon and a few other things. I said, all right, that's pretty big. Grand Canyon is big. Do we agree? Even for Mike Lindell, the Grand Canyon. Even Mike would admit the Grand Canyon's tough to beat, right? So anyway, but we did. We signed it, and it's one of the biggest acts. They say the biggest thing environmentally done since Teddy Roosevelt. That's a long time ago. We achieved together, and what we're doing together is nothing short of an economic miracle, and now we're doing it again. We did it. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and now I have to do it again. You know what that is? That's right. That's God testing me. He said, you know, you did it once. And I said, did I do a great job, God? I'm the only one that could do it. He said, that you shouldn't say. Now we're going to have you do it again. I said, okay, I agree. You got me. But I did it once, and now I'm doing it again. And you see the kind of numbers that we're putting up. They're unbelievable. Best job numbers ever. 3 months, more jobs in the last 3 months than ever before. Best retail sales in history. Best car sales. Did you see where the car sales are actually above what they were? Did you see the manufacturing? Remember, you're not going to have manufacturing back. You needed a magic wand for manufacturing. Well, we got the magic wand because the manufacturing numbers are through the roof. And your state last year had the best year it ever had, right? Best year it ever had. And now you're going to have something that's even better. So I just want to tell you, we're going to do it again. By the way, third quarter numbers come out. And interestingly, they will come out just before November 1st. And we're going to see how I did. But I think you're going to have a great third quarter. People are now starting to predict it, much to their chagrin, right? Much to their chagrin. They're just like CNN said, he's up 10 points. They all said 10 points. 10 points. First of all, the first poll was rigged and wrong. It was a rigged poll. Just like they want to try and rig the election with all these mail-in ballots. Let's send out 62 million ballots. Let's send, well, you know, and some people say, gee, you shouldn't talk. I got to talk about it. Because absentee ballots are good. You send for the ballot, you're not going to be in your state, and you get it back, and you do something, and you send it back in, and it's a process. You have to work for it a little bit. But these ballots, they want to send them out in some states. They want to send them out, and they want to just have millions of ballots. They said, oh, we drop them in a lockbox. I just saw the great thing about Air Force One, there's no lack of television. You have televisions on the ceilings, in the closets, on the floors. No matter where you go, there's a television. You open the closet, there's a television. I say, no, too much Trump, I can't watch anymore. I try and get away. You put yourself in a closet. But they have a lot of stuff. And they showed this person getting on Fox. You know, Fox now puts on more Democrats just about than they do Republicans. They have certainly changed a lot. Fox has changed a lot. They're probably turning off right now as I speak, but I don't care. I tell the truth. It's ridiculous. One of the biggest differences between this year and 4 years ago is Fox. Fox is like from a different planet, and too bad. And you know what's going to happen? If we don't win, they're going to go down the tubes along with every other media outlet. They'll all be bust. They'll all be gone. I can tell you that. Nobody's going to want to cover Sleepy Joe. We'll end up with one very boring socialist country that'll go to hell. But when you look at it and when you look at what's happening, that's why we have to win this election. And if we don't win this election, every one of you, me, all of us, it'll never be the country. I don't think the country can ever come back to it. I used to use Venezuela a lot. You know, I don't know if I even really fully believed it, but I'd say Venezuela, we would indeed become, when I look at these maniacs in Portland, these anarchists in Portland, when I look at these people, that's what they want. for the rest of the country. They want to defund their police. They want to terminate their police. You know something about that. You've had your little stance where they want to. Did they actually they actually are terminating the police department, right? They are actually doing it. They're not even talking about it. They're terminating the police department. These people are crazy. And by the way, when I sent in the National Guard, that's when it all stopped. And I kept calling. And saying, send in the National Guard, send in the National Guard. They should have done it a lot sooner, right? And that was a beautiful, I just stopped someplace else and I said, to me it was a beautiful sight. They were riding all over, they full of vim and vigor. They thought nobody was going to stop them. The police department is very good, but they were told you can't do anything. They have to be able to do what they do very well. So they were told they couldn't do anything, and the city was ablaze. It was ablaze. I'll never forget the CNN reporter. He's standing there with his very nice shaved head. Right now, I wish I had a shaved head. It would be a good instead of the wind. But you know what? He's standing there. Velcher, right? Hallie Velcher. And he's standing there. Things seem quite calm right now. And behind him, they have the entire city. Looks like it's burning down for blocks. He's standing there talking because the fake news doesn't report the truth. And they don't talk about how serious it is and how bad it is. But remember this, it's only a small part of our country. It's not a big part, very small. But they don't report the facts because they don't want to report those. Because those facts are very bad for Joe Biden and for the radical left. And they want them to win for whatever reason, I don't know. Because they'll all lose their networks, they'll all lose their wealth, everything will be gone. But they'll figure it out someday, but we're not going to let them have that chance. As much as in many ways they should not be rewarded, they're going to be rewarded if I win because our country is only going up in one direction. So that's the way it is. To fight the China virus, we've enacted the largest financial relief package in American history. Through the Paycheck Protection Program, we saved 1 million Minnesota jobs. We've also delivered nearly $5 billion in economic relief straight to Minnesota families. You know that. It kept it all going. And would like to do it again, except the Democrats, all they want is $1 trillion. $1 trillion. They're not interested in the people. They're not interested in the post office. It's all a ruse. It's all a con. They're only interested in getting $1 trillion. You guys know that. Getting $1 trillion for states that are badly run, blue states, very badly run by governors and mayors like New York, Illinois, California. I won't name any more because, to be honest, he's going to Minnesota. I don't know. I don't like to be so personal, but you do have some issues, I will say that. Of all places, I would be very surprised. I was very surprised. Unlike Sleepy Joe Biden, our approach to the pandemic is based on science, not left-wing ideology. Slow Joe opposed the travel ban on China that I instituted. He came out, oh, it's xenophobic. I said, what does that mean, Joe? Tell me, Joe, can you describe? Remember he came out, he called me all sorts of things, a racist and everything, and then he said I was right. I was early, way, way early. We would have lost hundreds of thousands of additional lives, and that's pretty much agreed by everybody. Then I put the ban on Europe coming in because they were ahead of us. And when I looked at Italy and I looked at France and Spain, I said, we got to put it on. And a lot of people didn't want that. They said we were right about that. And then we started getting into the manufacturing business with the ventilators and all of the equipment. And what we did is incredible. The governors were not prepared. We made a lot of governors look good by supplying massive amounts of equipment. Massive. Not one person in this country, we didn't have very many ventilators at all. Way undersupplied. Not one person in this country that needed a ventilator didn't get the ventilator. So every single person that needed one got one, which is pretty amazing. We have a big country with a lot of diversity, a lot of different states. And now we're making thousands of ventilators a month, and we're supplying them to the rest of the world because they're not equipped to make a ventilator. It's very complex, very expensive. We're making thousands a month. We have all we can use. Now Biden wants to lock all Americans in their basements for months on end. which would inflict permanent, irreversible harm on our nation's children, families, health, and economy. By contrast, my administration is following data-driven and science-based approaches that apply to common sense mitigation, aggressively sheltering those at greatest risk, our seniors, we have to shelter them, and delivers effective medical treatments to save thousands and thousands of lives. And when you look at the rest of the world, you know, they were trying to say, oh, we weren't doing. Now all of a sudden a lot of the places that they were using to hold up, they're having a big surge. They're having and I don't want that. I don't want that. But they were holding up names of countries, and now they're saying, whoops. In fact, even New Zealand, you see what's going on in New Zealand. They beat it. They beat it. It was like front page because they wanted to show me something. The problem is big surge in New Zealand. So, you know, it's terrible. We don't want that. But this is an invisible enemy that should have never been let to come to this country, to Europe, or the rest of the world by China. Just remember it. Just remember it. They fake. That's right. The fatality rate for Americans over 70 has declined by 85% since April. We've learned, we know, we have some great things now, too. Europe, by contrast, has experienced a 40% higher rate of excess mortality than the United States. Think about that. You don't hear those stories. They don't tell you that, Tom, do they? You don't hear that in Congress, right? We launched the largest mobilization of American goods since the World War II. Think of it, since World War II. This is the largest mobilization since World War II, creating the most advanced testing system in the world, producing thousands of ventilators and launching Operation Warp Speed to deliver and distribute a vaccine before the end of the year in record time. We're at a very, very close point to the vaccine and to therapeutics. And therapeutics, to me, are more important right now. You go into the hospital, whether it's a transfusion or whether it's a shot, and you feel better 2 days later or a day later or 3 days later. But that would be a great thing, and we're very close. We have great, great companies working on it because we will defeat the China virus. We're going to be stronger than we ever were. Next year is going to be record-setting numbers, and you see that when you look at the V. And the V is turning out to be true. You know, I was saying a V, and everybody was saying a V is impossible. But the V it's beyond a V. It's a super V based on the numbers that we have now. So we'll see what happens. And we would like to give additional money to people. We would like to. It wasn't their fault that they got hit by China. But you know what? We want to give them additional money, and we'll take care of, again, the post office has been a disaster for many, many decades. We want to strengthen the post office, make it good. It lost $78 billion over a relatively short number of years. $78 billion. I want to strengthen the post office, and we can do it. So that if you look, Amazon and all these companies that now do, it's a whole new business. They just drop a lot of it right into the post office, and we lose $2 and $3 every time we deliver a package. What's that all about? And he gets richer, and they get richer. How smart is that? For every package they deliver, it's $2 and $3 a package. So why aren't they raising the prices to Amazon and to these companies that are making all this money? Instead, we pay for it. And they always seem to open their distribution facilities right next to a post office. So they take a lot of the goods that they can't distribute because the post office is massive, much bigger than those companies. Believe it or not, you wouldn't think it, but much, much bigger. And they go to areas of Minnesota and other states that you can't reach, you'll never reach, and they just dump thousands of packages into the post office, and they say, good luck, here's your $2, here's your $1, here's your 52 cents. No, we got to do that. So that's my opinion. What do I know about delivery? What do I know? That's my opinion. That's a new business, but we have to, you know, we're being taken advantage of by all of those companies. And they should pay, not the people. My administration also understands that economic health is vital to public health. Over the past 3 months, we've gained 9 million jobs nationwide, which is a new record. Retail spending is fully recovered and is now at an all-time high. We have more retail spending now than we did before the plague came in from China. Auto production surged 28%. Joe Biden would crush this unprecedented economic recovery. During his 47 years in Washington, think of that, 47 years. Joe Biden, and you know it's really amazing, for 47 years he did nothing. Now he's telling everybody how he's going to make it wonderful, right? Doesn't work that way. And he's not exactly prime time now either, by the way. Joe Biden supported every globalist attack on the American worker. NAFTA, which was a disaster. TPP, which I didn't allow to happen. The horrible Korea deal. South China's entry into the World Trade Organization might have been the worst of them all. It created China. Now Biden is running on the most extreme far-left agenda ever put forward by a major party. Biden's joint manifesto, we call it a manifesto with Bernie Sanders, crazy Bernie, would raise taxes and increase regulations at an unprecedented rate. He will kill the stock market. He will kill everything that we're talking about today. He'd also abolish immigration enforcement, abolish bail, abolish the suburbs, abolish effective policing, abolish American energy, and abolish the American way of life. Otherwise, he'd do quite a good job, I think. He raised his hand and pledged to give free health care to illegal aliens, okay? A lot of you people, when you have problems, you don't get free health care, but he wants to give it. He wants to give lawyers, free legal assistance to people that come into our country illegally. And his vice presidential candidate, Biden picked Kamala Harris. She's a beauty, who co-sponsored a $32 trillion socialist takeover of healthcare and our country, because our country would be ruined, destroyed. And the 33, think of this, you had 33 in healthcare and $93 trillion on the socialist Green New Deal, which doesn't work. It's like written by a child. It's written by a child, a foolish child. It's written by a foolish child. I have a very different vision for America's future, and you got to see it before the plague, but you're seeing it again right now, even more so. It starts with creating 10 million jobs in the next 10 months, and that's what's happening. Over the next 4 years, we will cut even more taxes substantially and regulations. That's why people are pouring into our country to open up factories. They're bringing them back to Minnesota and every place else. In Michigan, we have auto plants opening up left and right and expanding. They haven't seen that in 42 years. We will end our reliance on China. We will make our critical drugs and supplies right here in the United States. And you know, when you see the drug companies, they're very rich, very sophisticated. When you see them taking ads against Donald Trump, those ads are for one reason, because I'm bringing you drug prices way down. I instituted a favored nations clause. So if Germany or any place, anywhere in the world is getting their drugs for less, which they do, a tiny fraction of what we pay, they have to meet those prices. So instead of saying, somebody should have done this, Obama, Biden, anybody should have done, other presidents should have done this. Our drug prices are many times higher than other countries, many, many times. In Canada, the price is half and better than that. And I gave Florida, Ron DeSantis, a great governor, gave him the right to buy his drugs directly from Canada. He's going to save half. So everyone, you know, right now you can't do that. I gave him, and I gave another state, Colorado, the authority to go to, if they want, they could go buy, prior to the favored nations kicking in. But the favored nations laws could reduce drugs by 50, 60, 70, even 80%. Think of that one. And I'm the only president in 51 years that had a year, last year, where drug prices came down, but that was peanut stuff compared to what I'm talking about. So when you see those ads, if you don't mind, and you see the drug companies hitting me, you'll say, thank you, President Trump, for reducing drug prices. I guarantee you, if they were going up, they wouldn't be taking ads. Makes sense, I guess, right? I hope people understand that, because they are spending a lot of money. They don't like me. I did something that was unthinkable. Check out the words favored nation. Check out the word rebate, because now I take the rebate for the people, and I take the rebate to reduce the prices. They took the rebate, went to a middleman. The middleman, I never heard the term middle woman, but I guess probably that too. But the middleman got all this money, I don't know who they are. Nobody knows who they are. The middleman, you always hear it. They made more money than the drug companies. At least the drug companies made a product. But the middleman is not liking Donald Trump too much. I probably have a lot of friends that are middlemen. I don't even know it. They have beautiful homes. I say, I wonder where they made their money. They're very wealthy, but they're not so wealthy anymore. We are getting the rebates. We're keeping the money for our people. We will create tax credits for companies that bring jobs from China back to America, and we'll impose tariffs on companies that leave America to produce jobs overseas. One of the things in the USMCA that was very important, I don't want our companies going to Mexico, going to Canada anymore. I watched that. I was Man of the Year 11 years ago in Michigan. I don't know why, but they picked me. That was long before I thought in terms of running. Are we glad I ran? Think so. Think so. What do you think? Yes? I think so. But that was long before I thought about this, Mike. And I said, you know, I was in Michigan, very nice, Man of the Year, that was great. And I said, you know, they're taking your car companies, they're moving them all to Mexico. Anyway, 32% of our cars are made in Mexico. How crazy. But it's that way. That's the way it happened. But I said the most important deal in the USMCA, I don't want anybody moving to Mexico, firing their people, moving there, making a car, selling it in for no tax. I don't want that anymore. Can't happen. And that's not going to happen. There is such a huge economic disincentive to do that. So we'll strip federal contracts from companies that outsource critical industries. We're going to strip it. With the help of Minnesota workers, we will be the premier medical and pharmaceutical manufacturer anywhere in the world. And you see it already. The drug companies are starting to give up. Now, I'll tell you, if for some reason the other side happens to have a victory on November 3rd, forget everything I said. It'll all be made in China plus. It'll all be made in other countries like Vietnam and other places. And you can just forget everything I said because they're typical politicians but radical left wing. They will go right back to it, but even more so. To protect our families and workers during the China pandemic, I sealed our border against illegal immigration and suspended the entry of foreign workers who threaten American jobs. And yet, if you're a farmer, a factory owner, and you had people coming in from years, we made it easier for those people to keep coming in. I can't shut them off. You'd have to close up your businesses. Joe Biden, on the other hand, has pledged to allow virtually unlimited immigration during a global pandemic, spreading the virus, overwhelming our healthcare system, and displacing millions of American job seekers. The Biden plan would institute catch and release, I got rid of it, along the entire southwest border. This is where you catch perhaps a murderer, perhaps a rapist. You catch somebody, you take their number, and you release them. You say, please show up to court in 3 years. Nobody shows up. 1% show up. You know who the 1% are? The ones that are very smart. They're the ones that show up. They're the only ones that show up. So we built almost 300 miles of border wall, and we're adding 10 new miles each week. And if we didn't have that, we'd be in trouble because, sadly, and I think the president of Mexico is a friend of mine. He's a great guy, Lacey. He's a great guy like you. But I said to him, you know, we have to do this. And you have to, in the meantime, you have to give us a lot of troops along our border because we're paying you a lot of money with your cars. And otherwise, I'm going to have to tariff. And he said, no, 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 we will give you troops. We have 27,000 Mexican soldiers on our southern border. Nobody's coming through unless we want them to. We have to come in legally into our country on the southern border and elsewhere. You have to come in. We have 27,000 troops. You didn't even know that, Tom. 27,000. Furthermore, Joe Biden has pledged to increase refugee resettlement by, not a bad number, 700%. You read that, right? That's in the manifesto. He would overwhelm Minnesota with refugees from terror hotspots, depleting public services, burdening schools, and straining city budgets. You already know about the hotspots, don't you? Huh? You know about it. You're having plenty of problems in Minnesota. but I'm going to be so politically correct, I'm not going to say a thing. But I know all about your hot spots. You got some hot spots. Very unfair to Minnesota, I will tell you that. And I'll tell you, if I don't win Minnesota, I'm never going to do it if I run for a third or fourth term, okay? I'll never be back if I run. I've given up. I almost won last time. One more speech, Mike. Why didn't you have... I almost won. I went to Michigan. I had a choice. I shouldn't tell you this, but we won Michigan. One more speech, I would have won. It was so close. But if I don't win it this time, I'm not coming back. Never. Not for term 3, 4, 5, or 6. Under my administration, we've dramatically reduced refugee resettlement, and we've suspended refugee resettlement during the pandemic. You know that. We've totally suspended it. Nobody comes in. Lucky we have the wall. We're up to 300 miles almost. If we didn't have that wall, we would be inundated with people. And, you know, unfortunately, and we're helping them. We sent them a lot of ventilators and other equipment. But Mexico's being overrun with the pandemic, and we would really have a problem. We've completely reformed refugee policy. We've instituted rigorous national security checks. We've protected religious minorities, and we've shifted refugee admissions away from terror-afflicted nations like Syria and Somalia. And remember, you know, they say we don't have, we do have, they understand that. They just don't want to say it. We have a ban, you know that. We have a ban on people coming into our country illegally. We have a ban on countries because we want people to come into our country who love our country, who can love our country, who respect our country, and who are going to come in on merit, which is the exact opposite of what was happening. Many of them hated our country, and they didn't come in on merit. All they do is complain. Do you know anybody like that? They just complain. Does anybody know anybody like that? Do you know anybody, one of your colleagues? You call her a colleague? All she does is complain. I won't mention the name because you'll never guess it. Complains. I don't like that. I don't like it. All she does is complain. Not good enough. Oh, really? Tell us about it. To protect our security, my administration instituted a travel ban on the world's most dangerous regions. Biden has pledged to immediately end this travel ban and allow unlimited migration from terror zones, including Syria, Somalia, Libya, Iran, and Yemen. Trouble. I also kept the promise I made to Minnesota 4 years ago. I signed an executive order requiring state and local consent before any refugees are admitted. Biden would immediately shred that executive order, overriding local communities like yours. You know that. Did you know I signed that? You have to give approval now. A little different than the old days, isn't it? Huh? A little bit different. The old days was a lot different. I signed that approval. They have to go through a process now, and you have to approve it. Why should we send everybody up to Minnesota or any place else? In recent weeks, Democrat-controlled cities have shown that Democrats plan and what they plan for America. In Minneapolis, 700 buildings were burned, damaged, or destroyed, costing more than $1 billion. I just left. Incredible people. We were on a runway like this, and I introduced them. Their businesses were burned down, gone, and they don't know what they're going to do, but we're going to try helping them to get them rebuilt. But 5 groups of people that were just incredible people, successful, wonderful people. Their stores and businesses were burned down, destroyed. Dozens of business owners have announced they are considering moving hundreds of jobs out of Democrat-run Minneapolis. You know that. You know that. Criminals are terrorizing civilians in Chicago, Portland, and now New York City. This radical left mayor de Blasio has let our beautiful diamond. I loved it. I left it 4 years ago. I could see there were the seeds of problems. He was there. But I left it, and it was wonderful. 4 years ago, I left it. And over the last year, and especially over the last 6 months, crime has gone up hundreds of percentage points, hundreds. 273 points, 368 points, numbers that you wouldn't believe. And we're talking about shootings, murders. You saw what happened this weekend. You saw that, Jason? Terrible. My city, I love that city. But it has great potential. And we're going to do something. We're going to do something strong. They've just let it go to hell. And I don't know, is it because they're bad people or they have no common sense or they just don't know what they're doing? But our beautiful diamond of this country has been let go to hell. Top Democrats have demanded the defunding of police departments. Biden even referred to the police as the enemy. And that's what it is. He's not going to control. Look, he's not going to control the situation. He's dealing with, how about the congresswoman that I watched over the weekend, right? Saying, I have total control over Biden. He'll do anything I say. I have total control. What she's saying is, I have total control over this jerk. He'll do whatever the hell I want. That's putting it in more common language. But she said it just as mean as that. You know who I'm talking about, right? You saw that? What a horrible statement to make. And frankly, Kamala, nobody treated Joe Biden worse than Kamala. I mean, he was called a racist and just about everything else under the book. Then all of a sudden she said, he's such a fine man. Look, nobody treated him, including Pocahontas, nobody on the debate stage, nobody treated Joe Biden worse than Kamala Harris. And she's got some big issues. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. I mean, I hear the boos. How the hell did she win the primary? How did she win the Lacey? What the hell happened, Lacey? It's Jason's fault. How the hell did she win? This woman is crazy. She's a horrible woman who hates our country. Mail-in vote. You're right there, right? We'll have to check that. Let's check the mail-in vote. Now, seriously, how does a woman who hates our country, who says nothing but bad things about our country and Israel and other of our allies, how does this woman win? Where are the people that would vote for her? Omar called the Minneapolis police a cancer and said they were rotten to the root. But Joe Biden did not condemn the comments. He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't disavow her endorsement. He displays it proudly on his website. This is what's going to be running the country. This is the biggest change between what happened between now and Crooked Hillary. Crooked Hillary was bad news, right? Remember she said, will you accept the results of the election? Will you accept the results of this election? And I sort of said, yeah, maybe, But she didn't accept them, right? Will you accept it? I remember that question. It was probably the toughest question I had out of all of them. But she hasn't been exactly a gracious loser. She's a loser, but not a gracious. If Joe Biden and the radical Dems, take power, they will pass legislation gutting every single police department in America. That's going to happen. The Biden-Bernie manifesto calls for a of the United States Supreme Court. Look, we have a big thing with the court. The next president has a chance to do 3, 4, could even be 5. You will change this country around. It will be irreversible. It will be irreversible. And they'll coddle criminals and punish law-abiding citizens. These judges will. They'll take away your guns while letting criminal gangs like MS-13 roam free. Your Second Amendment it was under siege, but not really, because they had never a chance, right, fellas? They played the game they had no chance. When I'm here, they have no chance. Your Second Amendment is cherished. You need your Second Amendment. They will either take it away or obliterate it into meaningless nothing. In Joe Biden's America, the protections of American citizenship will be stripped away, and you're at the mercy of the mob. I mean, I'm saying these things, but I mean them. When I look at what happened in Minneapolis, when you look at what's going on in different cities that are just unbelievable cities, Remember this, though. Most of the country is very safe. In fact, crime stats outside of Chicago and New York, a couple of them, crime stats are record low. Our countries, even during the pandemic, we're doing well, but where they're run by the liberal Democrats, we're not doing well, and we have to get in. You know, they have to ask us. We had to be asked. Here, they have to ask us, unless we take a very severe action, which ideally you don't want to take. But every time we go in, we solve the problem, and we solve it very quickly. Seattle, look at what's going on with Seattle. I mean, this is a city. This is a real city. And they took over a large portion of that city. And they knew we were going in the following day. They knew it. So they sent their police in. And it was like nobody ever gave up so easily as those characters. But they're radical left anarchists. Whether you're registered as a Democrat, Independent, or Republican, I'm asking for the vote of every American who believes that police officers are not enemies, but heroes who keep us safe. I also want to send our special thanks to the members of the Minnesota National Guard who did such an incredible job stopping the rioting, violence, mayhem in Minneapolis. They were great. They were great. I love it. I love that. It's just a beautiful thing. It's the way it's supposed to work. They cause problems. You have to do it. And the sooner you do it, the easier it is to do. My administration has made clear to every mayor and governor in the country that the federal government is ready to send the National Guard and federal reinforcements. We will wipe out the problem within minutes. You saw it happening right here. You wouldn't have a city if we didn't demand that that take place. You wouldn't have a city. All you have to do is say the word. Every voter should ask themselves a simple question. Do you want the radical left policies of Chicago, Minneapolis, San Francisco imposed on the entire country? Look at Nancy Pelosi. San Francisco's going to hell, and she's in Congress saying what we should be doing. Look at the homeless problem in San Francisco. Look at what's happening in San Francisco. And then she's telling us about the post office. She has no clue. And I must tell you this, does she love our country? Does she love our country? I don't think so, to be honest with you. What she's done is a disgrace to our country, what she's done. And Schumer crying Chuck. He cries whenever it's important to cry. Do you want the failed policies of Mayor Bill de Blasio? Or Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Chicago? Or Mayor Jacob Fry, brought to every city and town in this nation? If left-wing Democrats can't run a city, why on earth would you let them run your country? We have such incredibly run cities. Such incredibly run cities. The problems we have are the radical left. And now she wants $1 trillion, and she's holding it up using a phony excuse of the post office because she wants $1 trillion to go, and you guys all know this. She wants $1 trillion to go to these badly run Democrat cities and states. That's what she wants. And she's using the post office. We want to fix the post office and make it better. It should have been fixed 30 years ago. Over the next 4 years, we're going to implement an aggressive strategy to fight violent crime. It's already been implemented. And we'll expand the surge of federal law enforcement into crime-plagued cities. And we can do that at will. We just have to hear from your governor. Call up. Just let us know. We'll be there. We are ready, willing, and able. We will hire more tough, violent crime prosecutors. We will hire more police. We will dismantle violent left-wing extremist groups like Antifa. They don't even want to say the name Antifa. They don't even want to say the name. And we will pass new laws to prosecute drive-by shootings and an act of domestic terrorism. They will suffer gravely. We will fight for a nation in which every American child is safe on our streets, in which every American family is secure in their homes, and in which all of the American people are confident in our destiny. But to achieve this vision, we must finish the job and drain the Washington swamp once and for all. And get Jason in there, please. Jason Lewis, get him in. Jason, you got to win. Get Jason Lewis. Jason Lewis. Got to win, Jason. You're certainly against a weak opponent. You got to win. For years, left-wing politicians like Joe Biden talked about supporting American workers. Then they got elected and gave away your jobs, shipped away your factories, and they sold off your dreams, your beautiful, beautiful American dreams. They sold them off to the highest bidder. But under this administration, those days are over. Now you have a president who is fighting for you. Over the next 4 years, we will fully restore America's manufacturing independence. We will again rebuild the greatest economy in history. It's happening very fast. You're going to see it very soon. And lift it to even more incredible heights than what we had last year. You had the greatest year in the history of your state last year. We will revitalize police departments and reclaim our cities for law-abiding Americans. We will protect religious liberty, defend the lives of our beautiful unborn children, appoint conservative judges, uphold free speech on college campuses, and safeguard the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. We will ensure American dominance in space and in military and pave the way to becoming the first nation to plant its flag on Mars. We're working on that. We're doing very well. By the way, when I took over NASA, it was dead. It was gone, right? It was gone. There was nothing. There was grass growing on the runways, grass through the crevices on the runway. It was terrible. And now it's the most vital space program anywhere in the world. Not only the jobs, but the importance of it and the psychology of it. And by the way, for military defense. And we created Space Force. Think of that. We created another one of many, many things. First time in 78 years. Last one was the Air Force, right? Space Force. That's a big deal by itself. If we did that, they would have achieved something. We did that, and we did hundreds of other things. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to respect our great American flag. We will never waver in defense of our families, our values, our faith, our jobs, our borders, our rights, or our freedoms. Together, we will unite citizens of every race, color, religion, and creed as one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. I want to thank you. You are incredible people. Minnesota, thank you very much. I'll be back. November 3rd, we have to win. God bless you. God bless the great state of Minnesota, and God bless America. Thank you all very much.
There it is. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Hemmer. 1 hour to the minute there, watching the president's second stop of the day. 2 in Minnesota, then another one in Wisconsin next. The entire campaign enters a new phase starting tonight when the first of its kind Democratic convention goes virtual. So welcome to Monday, and here is where we are. Big week coming up. The president hitting the economy and jobs and going after Joe Biden repeatedly there. Usually the incumbent cools his heels during the other party's convention, but not in 2020. We're about 75 days away from the election. At this hour, Real Clear Average has Biden leading Trump 7 points in Minnesota. It has Biden up 6. States have 10 electoral votes up for grabs. Congressman Cedric Richmond is national co-chair of the Biden campaign, where they will be front and center tonight. Cedric, good afternoon, and thank you for your time. What's it going to look like?
Well, I think tonight you will see that the whole message and theme tonight is we the people. This is not about Joe Biden. It's not about Senator Harris. It's about every American family. It's about those 160,000 plus families that lost somebody due to COVID-19. It's about those 5 million plus families that have had somebody infected. Those 30 million families that have had someone to lose a job. That's what this race is about. It's not about one person. And unfortunately, Donald Trump thinks this election is all about him. And so I think it's going to be a clear choice tonight or a clear contrast tonight for people to see.
Bernie Sanders is on stage. Michelle Obama is on stage as well. Some of these speeches are live. Some of them are recorded. Again, back to the question. What does it look like? What is the feel when you're so used to having an audience out there and quite a show to show the viewers at home, and you're not going to have that this year, Senator?
Well, it'll be about the message. And I've recorded something for tonight. Majority Whip Jim Clyburn has done so also. So I think it's more about the message. It won't be about the theatrics of it. It will not be about the production as in person and the atmosphere. It's about the message, and it's about families and their future. So I think that you'll see a more serious tone, but you won't see all of the drama and stuff that goes with an in-person live convention.
Yeah, Congressman, one thing I was wondering about, as the co-chair of this whole event, you're in New Orleans. I'm certain you would much rather be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's got to be some give and take, some mixed feelings about that.
Well, look,
how difficult was this to put together?
Well, I really wanted to be in Milwaukee, and we all wanted to be in Milwaukee, and that's why we picked Milwaukee, Wisconsin to host the convention, because we wanted to go there and we wanted to experience the people and the atmosphere there. But the one thing we do is we listen to the scientists and the medical experts, and they suggested that it would be irresponsible for us to go to Wisconsin. It would put people of Wisconsin in jeopardy. It could put us in jeopardy. And we didn't want to do that. So we did the responsible thing of thought out the box to make sure that we could do a virtual convention that accomplishes the same goal, which is...
And do you think, do Republicans have an advantage because they get to see what you do or do not do this week, and then they can make adjustments on their own for next week when they hold their virtual convention?
No, I don't. I think, one, President Trump was in denial about having a virtual convention for so long that it put them behind the 8 ball. I think that he went from North Carolina to Jacksonville to whoever would let him host an in-person rally, no matter how unsafe, how irresponsible that it was. So I think that they're behind the curve, but I think that they have the money and the wherewithal to produce a good convention. But I don't think it would be in response to us, or maybe they'll learn some technical things to do. But for the most part, I think there'll be just two independent theories of the case of who should be president.
So let's see how it goes. I've got about 30 seconds left here. What does Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do next week? Normally, you come out of the convention, you have a head of steam, and you barnstorm the swing states. Will he do that?
Well, you'll see this week that they are very capable of taking their message to the American people. But at the end of the day, we recognize what the loss of 160,000 lives are. We're not going to be irresponsible with it. And we're going to ask everybody, including the president, to take that seriousness for what it is. People are dying, and we should act accordingly so that we can, in this pandemic, we can build the economy back better and unify the country. And I think that that's what we will do, which is take our message directly to the people.
I'm out of time, but I appreciate yours today. Cedric Richmond, thank you from Louisiana today. We'll see what a Joe Biden campaign looks like. It's still taking form. I guess we'll find out together. Thank you for your time today, and have a great afternoon. Good luck tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Want to bring in radio host Richard Fowler, Mark Thiessen, former White House speechwriter for President George W. Bush. Both are Fox News contributors, and I was trying to get some answers out of there. Mark, what do you think it looks like tonight? What is the challenge? I think Cedric Richmond's point there is that we're going to deliver a very serious message, absent the pageantry that you would normally have on a convention floor.
Yeah, well, I mean, the pageantry is really important. It's going to be very tough. I mean, this is the difference between, we always talk about the difference between the State of the Union and the State of the Union response, right? State of the Union has all the pomp and circumstance and the response of the crowd and all the rest of it. And then you have the State of the Union response where someone's talking into a TV camera. That's what we're going to see tonight and throughout the week. As a speechwriter, who spent a lot of time working on convention speeches and State of the Union addresses, one of the things you always do is you keep massaging the speech to get the applause line, right? Well, there's not going to be no lines tonight because there's no applause, because there's no crowd. So writing speeches and giving speeches for this kind of a convention is quite a challenge.
Okay, Richard, go ahead and take the same question now.
Listen, I think Mark is right. This will definitely be a challenge for Democrats. But I think in this moment is where you're actually going to see both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden shine. If you learned anything from last week, you learned this. They don't need a rally crowd. They don't need an applause to have a clear message to the American people. You saw that in their rollout. And that's going to be distinct from what we saw today in Donald Trump at the airplane hangar. He gave an earlier speech in Minnesota as well, where there was only half of the people with masks on, which puts all those people in jeopardy. And we in the Democratic Party believe that the science matters, right? We know there's 160,000 and over folks who have already died because of COVID-19. So we want to make sure that folks are at home and safe while they watch the convention.
Richard, thank you. Richard Fowler, Mark Thiessen, thanks for being patient and hanging out there. Tom Bevan's with me now. Tom, welcome to our coverage here. We want to give birth to this board here today, right? It's mid-August. And what I want viewers at home to know is that 270s needed to win the presidency. And at the moment, the 13 states are in gray. 13 states we think they're toss-ups right now. Some are interesting, some not so much. Biden at 213, Trump at 126, Tom. I'm going to put a little action into this board here, okay? You see Texas and Georgia on the board. Maybe they're toss-ups, maybe they're not. We'll find out in time whether they are. But how does Donald Trump win a second term if he doesn't win Pennsylvania? You ready? Give him Texas, give him Georgia, see how the numbers change. He won Florida by 100,000 votes. Maybe he defends that. North Carolina by 3.5 percentage points, Ohio by 7.5. Now he's at 242 votes. Upper Midwest here, if he defends Iowa and holds Arizona, he's at 259. Even with that scenario, Tom, he has to win somewhere up here where he is campaigning. Minnesota today, Wisconsin a bit later. So does he hold Michigan? If he does, he wins a second term. If he doesn't, can he pick up a Wisconsin? Even if he does that, Tom, with Pennsylvania out of the mix, he'd have to find electoral votes up here in New Hampshire, perhaps, to get to 270. The point being, Pennsylvania in this scenario holds critical mass when it comes to winning in 2020, Tom.
Well, given his margin in 2016, he can lose one of those three upper Midwest states and still have enough to win the election, but he can't lose more than one. And that assumes, to your point, that he holds Arizona and North Carolina, which are right now he's trailing in those states. And so the one state you mentioned, Pennsylvania is critical. The one state also, though, I mean, if you look at the map, if he loses Florida, it's over. And Florida was, as you said, a 1-point state last time around, about 1.5 points, and the battle is on there. So keep an eye on Florida, keep an eye on Pennsylvania. Those are going to be two of the most crucial states this time.
Listen, you can mess with that board, Tom, and come up with 100 different scenarios, and we shall over the next 75 plus days. What do you believe is the impact, in 30 seconds or less here, of a virtual convention on the electorate now?
I don't think it's actually going. I don't think these conventions are going to matter much, and certainly not as much historically. I doubt we'll see a bump from either side, and especially with the Republican convention starting while the Democrats would be sort of enjoying their bump. I suspect, in the way this electorate is locked in right now, I don't suspect we're going to have much action on either side from either convention.
Wow, no bump. Tom Bevan, there he is. Okay, we shall see if you're right. Thank you, Tom, for being patient today. Nice to see you. Here Monday to Friday, 3 o'clock Eastern. Set your DVR. Never miss a report. In the meantime, Your World with Neil Cavuto rolls your way right now. Here's Neil. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right, Bill, thank you very, very much. Well, the Democratic convention has officially begun. Of course, it'll be a primetime event for most Americans watching it virtually. The Republicans will be playing things out the same way next week. But the president reigning on that parade today, normally the party that is not having the convention lies low. But when have you ever seen this president lie low? In Minnesota today, campaigning for a state that he barely lost, hoping to make good just as he did in Wisconsin 4 years ago, a state that he's going to be visiting next. This, as Democrats gather to sing the praises of a ticket they say is simply unbeatable. Is it? Welcome, everybody, and happy Monday to all of you. So glad you're with us right now. This is what's stake. We look at your political world today and the key speakers who will be addressing the nation tonight. First off, of course, with the likes of Michelle Obama. We're going to also be hearing some party luminaries that have really gotten a good deal of attention, including only one who isn't a party member at all. I'm talking about the former Ohio governor and presidential candidate, Republican John Kasich, who will be addressing that august gathering tonight, again, virtually. But the fallout here is very, very real. Now, whether either side gets any sort of a convention bounce on all of this, hard to program. The candidate who generally needs the bounce more is the candidate trailing in the polls. It doesn't always work out that way, and whatever bounces come out of such gatherings can be short-lived. Just check Michael Dukakis, 1988, for that. But in the meantime here, let's get the read from Jackie Heinrich on how the DNC plans to get the party going tonight. Jackie.
Hey, Neil. Well, Democrats are trying to project an image of party unity. They have progressive Senator Bernie Sanders juxtaposed with former Republican Governor John Kasich. That's an effort to show broad support among folks who want to vote President Trump out of office, despite considerable division on the issues. We're also set to hear from Congressman Jim Clyburn. He is credited with rescuing Biden's campaign after the South Carolina primary, really galvanizing support among black voters. A big issue for the Democrats is how this ticket gives black voters and other minorities a seat at the table. So it's possible Clyburn, maybe even Michelle Obama, the keynote speaker tonight, will talk about representation on that, which could make up lost turnout from 2016. That was key back last cycle. It is going to be a challenge to build energy without the crowds of years past on the convention floor. So to focus attention, many speeches are going to be taped. Meantime, while the Democrats curate this image of a united party, Biden has gotten a lot of flack for failing to regularly give interviews or hold press conferences. But he did sit down with Cardi B. That was a strategic move to reach some young people.
For example, in 2016, if 18 to 23 or 4-year-olds voted in the same percentage as the rest of the population, we would have had Hillary Clinton, not him.
So no curveballs there from Cardi, but the former Sanders supporter did challenge Biden on the issue of Medicare for all. That's one of the last remaining real gaps within the Democrats right now, is how they approach health care. So that might be another thing that we hear Sanders use his allotted speaking time tonight to touch on, Neil.
All right, we'll be watching very, very closely. Jackie Heinrich, thank you very, very much. Again, she did give you an idea of a who's who speaking right now at this confest for the next 4 days. In the meantime, some news to pass along to you. Remember how we told you the House and Senate had quit for August and weren't going to return until after Labor Day. Then along came Nancy Pelosi urging Democrats to return to stop what she said was the president trying to completely restructure the U.S. Postal Service. She succeeded in getting them back, but right now there is going to be a great deal of debate as to how far some of the changes President Trump has orchestrated for the post office, and getting to get the Postmaster General himself to testify before a key House hearing a week from today. Chad Pergram on these fast-moving developments. Now, the vote on these changes to prevent them and go back to where we were on January 1st of this year, that is slated for Saturday, correct?
That's right. It'll probably be a vote late in the afternoon or the evening on Saturday here. You know, it's rare for them to recall the Congress, certainly in the middle of the August recess, rare to have a Saturday session. Here you have a combination of that. Some of that is facilitated to wedge this in between the Democratic and Republican conventions. A lot of Democrats, rank and file Democrats, got in the ear of the House Speaker over the weekend and said they need to act on the Postal Service. Among them, Jerry Connolly, Democrat of Virginia.
Well, it's not hard to connect the dots here. I don't think there's any mystery. They're attempting to suppress the vote by using the Postal Service as a wedge.
Now, this will be a narrow bill only focused on the Postal Service. It'll spend $25 billion for postal operations and halt changes to postal policy. Some Democrats hope to expand the bill into other areas of economic aid for coronavirus, but that won't be the case. Democrats charge the president is trying to weaponize the Postal Service at election time.
This kind of suppression comes straight out of a dictator's playbook. It is shocking to see it in the United States of America. That is a dangerous attack on our nation and our democracy.
It's doubtful that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will consider the House bill. He argued that the Postal Service is fine, but watch to see if Republican senators from rural states demand action. Mail delivery is important in those regions. President Trump says he's just trying to make the Postal Service better.
The post office is running very well. The post office, now look, if you look at the post office, for years that's all people complained about. We're going to run it well, and we're going to not lose so much money.
The top Republican House Oversight James Comer of Kentucky called Democratic concerns about the Postal Service, quote, a wild and baseless conspiracy theory. Comer undermines the integrity of the election. And Comer will be on the dais a week from today, next Monday, when Louis DeJoy, the postmaster, comes to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Neil?
All right, Chad, thank you very much, my friend. Chad Program on Capitol Hill. Let's get the read on all of this from James Comer, the Kentucky Republican House Oversight Committee ranking member. Where is this going, Congressman? I mean, you have Democrats saying the president is trying to use the post office to force his way and interfere in this election and mail-in ballots. What do you say?
Well, the Democrats are trying another scare tactic. This is very irresponsible. As I said earlier, this is a baseless conspiracy theory. The Postal Service is on an unsustainable path, but that predates the Trump administration. That's been a problem for over a decade. What the president's trying to do is to help the post office. The president is trying to do things to make the post office more efficient and to save the taxpayer dollars. That's what Americans want. That's why they elected a businessman to be president, to come in and make government more efficient. The truth of the matter is the Postal Service today has $14 billion cash on hand.